Welcome to Tipsy Technologists, where the firewalls are high, the stakes are higher, and the drinks might just be a little bit stronger than our opinions. We're talking tech without the jargon, innovation without the ego, and leadership without the LinkedIn fluff. Whether you're here to learn, laugh, or just listen in some slightly buzzed brilliance, you're in the right place. Let's pour a drink and plug in. The future just got a little more fun. Today's guest needs no firewall because nothing gets past her. She's the president and CEO of Frontier Technologies, a cybersecurity and IT powerhouse, and she's been leading with innovation since before it was a LinkedIn buzzword. With over 15 years of helping businesses stay one step ahead of hackers, hardware headaches, and digital disasters, she's basically the tech world's version of a superhero, minus the cape, for now. Reshma Mothy, welcome to the show.
Hey, David. Thanks for having me.
So, Reshma, tell us the story of how Frontier Technologies got started.
Well, David, I'm glad you asked me this question. It's actually really interesting how it got started. So my parents started the business and they were working separately on their own. My dad decided to leave the current company back in the 80s at that point in time frame and decided to start his own business. The company started more as a engineering services company, doing a lot more with sensors and different type of engineering, working more on oil and gas. And then as a company evolved, my mom joined the business and it shifted over into a IT staffing company. And so in the 90s, at that point of time frame, that's just where the industry was going. That's where the needs were in the industry. And also remember that this was also a time before MSPs were there and VMSs and all these different staffing tools that now exist in our time frame now. But back then it wasn't there. So it was a space where companies could get in and flourish. So they did really well at that part of time. And then in the early 2000 timeframe, my parents decided to get more involved in the federal government space. So they decided to go after the GSA schedule. So we got on the GSA schedule. And in addition, they started to see the value. And there was also a bigger push on the government side when it came to diversity certification. So they got more involved with our local WeBank, which is our women's business group for women's business owners, and NMSDC, which is also for our minority business owners group. And so we got our diversity certifications. And then I joined after I graduated college. And I personally, I'll just take a moment to talk about me personally. I was actually on a path to go into becoming a doctor.
Really?
And yeah. And
what kind of doctor did you want to be?
I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I was always into sports growing up. I loved watching sports, basketball, football, you name it, tennis, obviously. And I just really was enamored by the body and the motions, and orthopedic surgery was always something that attracted me. And it's a
lot of saws and hammers in orthopedics, right?
Yes. And I love to beat people up.
Yeah.
Just kidding. And I wanted to take advantage of that. But I knew it was going to take some more time. And I wanted, at that point in my personal life, I was seeking independence. And I wanted to be able to take care of myself independently and not be dependent on anybody to take care of me. And I felt like that road would be another 20 years in my journey to get to that next level. So my mom just took me aside and said, you know what? Maybe forego it for a year after I graduated, and said, why don't you come join the business, see if you like it, and then go from there. And that's how I got into the business. So that was my side note. And when I joined the company, clearly I was all in medical. I was health sciences. I wasn't paying attention to anything business related. So I was thrown in and I was learning so much more about technology. BlackBerry was really big back then. I don't know if people remember that. So that was huge. And we were actually one of the government's biggest BlackBerry reseller at one point of time.
Oh,
And so
okay.
I helped really bring that up to the forefront for Frontier Technologies. I found really good success there. And I was selling it to the federal government, to a lot of the different agencies. And it was cool because I was getting a lot of free BlackBerries and different phones. And I was having fun at that time. A lot of extra paraphernalia. And it was cool. And that's how I started getting my feet wet in the federal government and learning more about the different agencies, their buying requirements, spending requirements, and such.
Okay.
And then at that point, like 3-4 years into it, I realized that there was a lot more that could happen on on the commercial side. And I figured there was a lot more growth. During that time frame, it was a lot more of, I guess there was a lot more spend, more focus, like that diversity push was at its peak. And so I decided to get a little bit more involved on the commercial side of the business. So I spent a lot more time going to different commercial industry events in the healthcare, utilities, and pharmaceuticals, and started expanding our footprint on that private sector side of the business. Again, just doing a lot of the similar value-added reselling services that we were doing for the federal government, but pushing it more on the commercial private sector side, but also doing more around understanding their needs on the cybersecurity. That was still really big and a big push back then too. Learning, a lot of companies were doing penetration testing, the vulnerability assessments. I mean, that cybersecurity first approach was always there that many years ago.
So
Yeah.
for those that may not
Can I
know,
drink too?
sure.
I'm gonna have a drink. Thanks.
Yeah. So for those who may not know, can you walk us through the core services of Frontier?
Sure. Yeah, let me take a moment during that journey. So as I said, we started off as more of an engineering services company, and then it evolved into a IT staffing business, and then it evolved more into growing from that value-added reselling, doing some staffing, cybersecurity services for federal government and the commercial enterprises. And then we also added a staffing component for the business too. The business holds a security clearance, and so we've been very fortunate to provide labor for the federal government and the private sector, leveraging that where and when it might be beneficial. And then in addition to supporting the private sector.
So do you find that it's easier to work in the federal side or the commercial side?
Really good question. I think it's unique. I think both sides has its own unique advantages. I believe a lot of people are nervous about working in the federal government because they think that it's going to be slower paying times, for example, or their needs aren't going to be very clear, and you're going to spend a lot of time to pull out what they really need, work on spending the time on the proposal, and then you submit it, and then it just goes into a black hole. In our experience, we haven't had that. I mean, we've cultivated good relationships. I cultivated good relationships when I started with business, and then clearly evolves. People come and go, but the relationships and the experience and the contracts that we have fulfilled successfully has clearly moved its way ahead for us. Similarly, on the private sector side, I feel that the private sector side is a little bit harder to sell to, in my opinion.
How come?
I feel it's harder because their needs on the private sector is not very clearly defined. And so you have to spend more time understanding what their specific needs are, right? Around whatever technology that you're trying to do. Automation, this is now, but automation or cyber, or if they need specific SOW needs, or if we're looking at asset management, right? I mean, all different types of technologies. And you have to really clearly define it. And you have to really, really position yourself as a seller on how you can really solve the problem. I feel like it's way more cutthroat, to me personally, on the private sector side. So if you ask me, I would say private sector is tougher. I think federal it's more straightforward. This is what the need is. This is how you're going to solve the problem. This is how you have to outline your proposal. You have to put your answers in, and That's it. And then you wait, right? They evaluate it. They tell you the criteria they're evaluating it on. And then either you're selected or you're not selected. On the commercial side, it's just a lot of, I think it goes into a black hole. So that's my perspective.
So what makes Frontier's approach unique in the IT and cybersecurity space?
When it comes to how Frontier Technologies and how we go about our sales process, I really like to say every question that we're asking and we're uncovering with the client, it's truly understanding what their needs are, truly understanding their environment. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to solve their problem. So when we're asking those questions, it's always around how are we understanding how they're keeping their environment secure? Are we thinking through all the different areas where it could be improved? And I also think we go one extra step when it comes to their just general IT needs. I have customers for 10, 15 years at this point where I know that they have a specific problem. And they'll come and ask me and they'll say, Reshma, we need help with ABC. And they're like, and I know, and I go secretly on the back end, I go, I know I'm not going to be, it's not very profitable for me. Is it really worth my time? But what I think makes us different on that side as well is I will take the time and go figure it out. I'll go call the vendor. I will go sit there. I don't allocate it or ask anybody else to handle the problem. I just go sit there and I go call the person or I email them and I just try to figure out what's the challenge and how can we fix it for the client. And it's normally like a lot of, hoops to jump through, but I'll do it and I'll get it done for the customer. One of the best rewards of that was when I was on the phone with a customer and he said to me, Reshma, I know you didn't have to do that, but the fact that I asked you to do something within 2 hours because we had to go live and you were able to get me the link that I needed to download whatever software that he needed and get it live within 2 hours. And he goes, that shows how committed you are to our company and our success of our company. And he goes, I got your back. And that that made me feel better because then I knew I was doing the right thing. It's not always about the money at the end of the day. It's really, like I said in the beginning, about solving their problems. And if I can solve their problem and be there, that's what matters the most to me because that's why I'm here. That's why the business is here. That's why we have succeeded so long so far.
Yeah, taking care of the customer and, that's a lot of companies, they just focus on the bottom line. They just want to get the deal done. They don't really think about what it's going to do for the client. How can I help the client? So for a company that is really focused on customer satisfaction and customer service, that's something that's lacking today in just about every industry. So that's great that Frontier is able to keep that going.
Yes. And I also, just to answer your other part of the question about our cybersecurity first approach, is through also with that example that I was saying as well. We take that part very seriously and understanding the impact of what this one solution that they were looking for and how it affects their actual overall security within their infrastructure. And so that's where I just want to take a moment and say, I actually take a moment and step back and say, okay, they're buying this product. They need this for their go live. But then does that impact anything in their security environment that we need to think about that maybe they're just missing because they're so focused on going live? And so also took a step back and made sure that all made sense for them too.
So you mentioned that your parents started the company together. How many times a week did they want to wring each other's neck?
Yeah, family-owned business is really unique. It's something that a lot of people have opinions on, and a lot of people have opinions on how you're supposed to interact with your parents. And I can say that my parents and I have a very unique relationship working with each other. And obviously I saw the same thing growing up as well and how they worked with each other. I think it's different when you have a husband-wife relationship versus a parent-child relationship. And yeah, they yelled a lot. I mean, they were always fighting, but I think they weren't fighting because they were mad at each other or anything like that. I just think my parents specifically are very too passionate people, and they love what they do. That's their culture. They got that right when they were growing up in India. It's very tough, and the environment's completely tough. So for them in India, they had to survive. I'm not saying that right, they didn't have anything. I don't mean it like that, survive, but they still had to survive amongst a lot of other people. So in order for you to do well and stand out, you had to push. So you had to have that passion. You had to have that determination and that like hardcore focus in order to get to that next level. And so growing up, that's what I admired the most about them, just seeing that. And I think that's just kind of definitely got instilled in me.
And so you went from working for your parents to taking over, and your parents are still involved, and now they work for you. Yeah. How has that dynamic been? That has to be an adjustment for everybody.
I think it was a huge adjustment. And I mean, it didn't just happen like snap, mom and dad, this is my ship, and this is what it's happening. I think it took a long time it took about, say, 10 years or so for this thought process to really sink in. And sometimes I don't know if it always sinks in, right? Because it's still their baby. This company is still their baby. And I understand that to a certain level. But I think within the past few years, there's been a lot of really impactful business decisions and choices that had to be made within the company that I think forced me to evolve and grow up and change my perspective on how I handle things, how I approach things, how you handle stress, how you handle, stress, right? I think it's the biggest thing, how it gets thrown at you in every form and fashion. And with that, you struggle, you get knocked down, but you stand back up, right? And you can move forward. And I think with that personal growth from me, I've seen a complete change from my parents. They really get it now, and now they really do leave me alone. So it's really interesting. They actually come and ask me questions. They don't always listen to me either, and I get mad at them, and I go, fine, do what you got to do. I don't want to know about it. I'll just see it later, looking at something, but
goes back to that when it's like when you're a kid, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission type thing. So they're really working that over on you now.
Yeah, they are, and they're doing it. And then sometimes I'm like, it's not worth my battle, so I'll just move on and just deal with it later. And because I think that's part of that growth process that I was telling you personally, where I evolved and said, it's just not worth it. It's fine. We'll figure it out. We'll move on to the next, and that's it.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could work with my parents.
It's hard. I mean, I always reflect upon it, and I go back and I think, personally, and I tell them this, so it's not like they don't know, but I would never do it again. I would never. Yeah. I don't know if I would have gone to medical school like I wanted to, or if I wanted to go into nursing school or whatever it ended up. I don't know if I would have gone that route, but doing the business, I think I would have gone into business. I would have gone into corporate America, but I think that's what makes me really unique at my age now, and how I'm a little bit more ahead than my peers just because I didn't. But there's pros and cons. So
right,
pros and cons, yeah.
So let's get back to Frontier.
Yes.
Who are the clients that you typically work with today? Any particular industries, sectors?
Yes. So we are about, I would say we do a lot, 50-50 split. And we do a lot in the federal government space. We particularly support Department of Defense. That's been our bread and butter for the past 25 years. And we have the skill sets, we have the past performance, we have the experience and the relationships that has carried us forward. But in addition, when I mentioned when I joined, I also spent a long time cultivating the private sector and cultivating good relationships on the healthcare insurance side, and also on the pharmaceuticals and in the utilities. And so we've been very fortunate to have a good steady pace of clients throughout the past years.
So even though you're not in the medical field, you're still keeping your toe in that water.
Yes, I'm still keeping my toe in that water. I still have that knowledge in my head, right? I mean, very familiar. I can go back and remember all those classes and bringing home cadavers home because I had to go study these parts of the bones and the body. And it was always interesting. And I got the weirdest looks in the elevators all the time. They're what's that? I'm like, oh, it's just a skull. I got to study the head.
What was your favorite thing to dissect?
Human body?
Oh.
Or
well, I mean,
oh my god,
I don't know how far you got.
I don't know if dissecting was the fun for me because it smells, because you have all those formaldehydes and all those chemicals on the, whether it was an animal or a pig brain or a sheep or I don't know, frogs. That was interesting. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. I can tell you what I did not like, and I did not like our genetics class, and we had to do a lot of different tests around the flies. And so what Drosophila, I think it was Drosophila. I might be drawing. I'm sorry to all my biologists on the call. Drosophila flies or something like that, where you had to like test their eyes and if they were red and brown. I hated it. It was, and you had to cross mix them, and just, it was brutal looking at flies.
Yeah. And
trying to figure out genetics from flies. Yep. I did not like it. I don't think I did very well, but I had fun with some of my friends. So we laughed while we did this process.
Math was never my favorite subject. And I took physics just so that I could avoid biology because I did not want to dissect anything.
Oh, okay.
So I
that's funny.
Tortured myself with that just to avoid dissection.
Physics. I don't think I ever had to take physics.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No, I had plenty of biology. Don't worry. I had plenty of biology classes.
Yeah. So what are some of the common challenges that these organizations are facing today that Frontier helps?
I think right now, the first challenge is around what is this concept of AI and how does it need to implement in their business? How, I think you have to look at it from a business level. I think you have to look at it from an employee level. I think you also have to look at it from your client level, right? Client meaning like who they're serving, right? And how that impacts their consumers buying what they're selling. I think from a business perspective, it's a threat of what is this? How is it going to help our business? How can we use AI to strengthen our business? And having those types of conversations to help them really understand where those potential pain points are within their organization is a place where we start to have those conversations. And this is, again, very high level. And I think when you're also looking at your employees, and you also have to look at how AI is then secure. And then is it compliant with your different business structure, your business rules, whatever that might be. And I think that's also really important to understand. And it's a really big piece of the puzzle that you're trying to understand, and then you're trying to just break it down piece by piece. And so what we try to do is understand, okay, where is that pain? Is it on their actual back end business infrastructure? Is it on their employee side, or is it on their client side? And then we start to dissect it further. But I think AI is huge. Then the security piece is big around it. And then also that compliance portion is very important too. And then also ensuring that your employees, everyone's working, they're all using the right technology. But then you have that security piece comes in terms of what's the information that they're giving AI, because you don't know, right? You have to somehow create different forms and measures. And I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but I'm just trying to give just like real live examples of just what some of those challenges may be. But there's like 5,000 other challenges that they could be facing. I think that's a big one. And so certain organizations have had to take a stance on, right, what technology can you use and what technology can you not use, right? So you can keep your data, you can prevent that DLP, that data loss protection there, which is important.
And that kind of sums up technology as a whole, right? Because there's so many different challenges. There's so many different things that companies are facing and things that companies can implement. And each of those things can create a whole slew of problems and compliance issues and things. So it's never it just spider webs out. It's never just a simple, okay, we do this and all our problems are solved. It's, we do this, but we're creating 10 new ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting. And then I think also from the other part, just to answer your question on the consumer side, right? So consumer meaning whoever's consuming the product of what the client's doing. You also have to be concerned on what not concerned. What I've noticed is the client is very concerned about that scalability. They know that they're going to be acquiring a new area, a new service area, and they know that they're going to now be getting an onboarding of, say, I don't know, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million customers. And so that's also something that's really big. So then it's preparation of when is this going to go live in terms of when their website's going to open up, for example, for all these new users, and then how the back end's going to support it too. And then again, all the same questions come in. How can AI help automate the process? How can we make sure it's secure and there's no downtime? And there's a lot of different factors that come into place.
Does AI scare you or excite you?
I think AI is super cool. At the beginning, I didn't like it because I went, what? I have my own brain. Like, why can't I use my brain? And then I've seen other people use it and I've seen the benefits of it, right? I think people utilize it too much and you can totally tell when somebody's not actually writing something. And, that's ChatGPT, for example, using it. But I think it's helpful. I even find it helpful when I'm constructing emails and I go, okay, this is what I'm trying to say, but I don't know if I'm grammatically putting it properly together. I think in those cases, using AI is helpful. And again, this is only one example, right? This is an example from our end users, but or people who are listening to this. But from an AI perspective, on the business perspective, I think AI shouldn't scare them either because there's a lot of different ways you can implement AI to make the business better. So I think it's an exciting time. Just a lot to learn.
Yeah.
How to use it.
I mean, I think about back to when we were in school.
Yeah.
Versus kids today. I mean, can you imagine if we had something like ChatGPT?
I know.
Then.
I know.
And it makes you wonder, will the kids learn how to write? Will they learn how to what is it gonna? What could that do to the evolution of people?
Yep. I think it's funny, especially when we go back and remember. I remember our TI 83s and our 82s, and that's where we had to put all of our little answers in, and we had to type it all in that calculator. And now they have iPads, and I was with personally. Just side note again, I was with my cousin's son, and he's 6 years old, and he was just whipping out this iPad and just showing me all these things the other day, and I just went, wow, we didn't have any of this. I mean, and the things that I thought were really cool at my age, he already has seen and already has gone beyond.
Right.
I went, wow, all right, I'm definitely old. Not as, definitely old, but it's a different perspective.
I mean, they say kids today are born iPad compatible.
They have to be. Yeah, right? Absolutely.
I mean, I remember when I was in school doing a project, I had to do a report on all of the presidents and actually going through a physical book encyclopedia to do all the research for it. And it was, now it's all right there.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
It's all online. It's all digital. I know. I saved a bunch of encyclopedias for that reason because I said I need to keep them. Yeah. So I've kept some from growing up as well. I think they're in my garage somewhere, in my basement. But I saved them. Yeah. One day they'll be really cool to see and go back and be like, huh. Yeah. And dictionaries.
Right.
Definitely.
So let's talk about the future.
Okay.
What is next for Frontier Technologies?
I'm really excited about the future of Frontier Technologies. I think there's a lot of potential. I think we've had some really great success thus far, and that's what's keeping us here and going. I really have to break it down to are successful partnerships. We run very lean as an organization. It just makes sense for us. That's just how the business has survived and thrived over the years. And I think one of the biggest values I see in the next 10 years of the business is our successful partnerships that we are continuously working on, regenerating, forging. I think that's really has been impactful for us. There's been some good impactful relationships we've had with partners, with distributors like Ingram Micro, for example. IBM has been a great partner of ours for a while. And along with working with them, there's other partners that we work with on the cyber side and also on the SOW side and also on the value-added reselling side that I think is making the difference for us. Not only does it help support us from a software, hardware, right, that infrastructure perspective, but it also helps support us with making sure we have the right folks, the right folks to support the clientele. So we're able to utilize our resources. So they can utilize us for different sales power, relationships, right, that we already have. And then we can utilize our partners for different technical resources. And then together we've been successful partnering up and working with our clients. So I think that's one of my exciting things that I think about.
Very exciting.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really growth. It's just about finding that right partner that's in that same trajectory as you. And it takes time to figure that out.
For sure.
Yeah.
What trends or technologies are you keeping a close eye on?
I think a big one right now, security is always going to be there. I think, like, for example, I mentioned it earlier, we had a client who's growing, and they're growing in the sense of they're adding new service areas to their organization. And with that, there's this big concern about how they're going to service that. And I think understanding those pieces on how we can help them think through what are all the pieces needed. So we have to think about the scalability, and then reliability is really big. And then how do we automate that? So those are some 3 key areas where we're having the conversations and making sure that the technologies that we're offering provides that capability to our clients.
So how is Frontier preparing to meet the needs of tomorrow's enterprise IT landscape?
I think it's something that we're not necessarily, I would say, preparing. We've already been prepared for. And that goes back to our approach, right? How I've mentioned in the similar stories from before in terms of how we're handling our clients' needs. We go in and we really truly sit there and understand what are their pain points that they're trying to solve, whether it's on their infrastructure, on their employees, or whether it's on their end users, their consumer side. And so I think by already putting ourselves in that position where they know we're genuinely, truly trying to understand, I think already has positioned us to be better prepared for the future technology. Because when we better understand that, then we become that extra brain, that extra mind that's already thinking through and thinking ahead. Okay, while they're worrying so much about what the organization needs, we think about, okay, this is where technology trends are going based on our experience, based on our partners that we're working with, or the different technologists that we bring into the conversations. We're having those types of conversations. And I think it's the collaboration of all of the minds is how we're all going to be better prepared for that future. And I think that's how we're doing it every day.
Awesome. So what's one tech trend you're excited about?
I don't want to sound cliche, David, but I'm really excited to see where AI is going to be used for the future. I think AI can be used in so many different ways. As you and I were just talking offline about like how Disney's using it at like theme parks and how they're using it to detect where people are and if they need to move people to a certain park. I mean, like AI can be used to study that information, right? And then move people if you need to move people. I'm also excited to see how AI is going to help my clients in utilities and the healthcare space, and how is it going to help improve their processes. I'm excited to see on the utility side how AI and using AI to help them with their nuclear and with their power and all their different transmissions, and how can AI help them with their automated predictive maintenance and monitoring, for example, and how AI can help them with those needs so that they can better serve their clients, but they can also save costs for themselves is like one area where I'm excited to see how that grows. I mean, a lot of this is still new. And then even on the healthcare side, are there ways to predict their users, right? Understanding the background of their users and using that information to help them better build an infrastructure based on that. So I know all this is already happening, but it'll be really cool to see when AI is really at that next level.
I think AI is going to have an interesting impact in healthcare, because I think it's going to
so many different ways.
I think it's going to be a new diagnostic tool to help figure out what's wrong. And so patient care is going to be
definitely
really interesting to see where that goes. What's one leadership lesson you've learned?
You can never be too humble. I think through the past few years for myself personally, it's been a ride, and I think COVID definitely had an impact on how I changed my perspective on life and leadership and also on business. And I think you get very comfortable. And I think there's going to be moments in your business career or even in your personal career where things are going to knock you down, and it's going to kind of jolt your confidence, and it's going to make you really rethink about how you go about things. And I think being humble about it and just being like, okay, I don't know everything. I don't know how to handle all the problems. I don't know how to solve it. And sometimes you just don't have the confidence to know that you can do it. But I think just being like, okay, you're going to get up out of bed this next day and you're going to just take one foot in front of the other. And it's something that I think takes practice. It's not something that you're going to be like, oh, it's going to be so easy. I'm going to wake up and just go the next day. But I think every day you keep practicing that similar thought, right? In whatever way it makes sense to you, you'll realize that you can do it. And it just takes one. You can get over yourself, but you can rebuild yourself right back up, and it's okay. And no one knows, because it's still your journey. And I think that's something that I really hold true to myself, and I try to tell other people that I know when I talk to young aspiring entrepreneurs or folks in the business world, and they ask me like, what's been like part of your journey? And I tell them that. And I said, just don't get too comfortable. And even if you mess up, it's okay. Own it. And like, you mess up, tomorrow's a new day.
We learn the most from our mistakes.
Yeah. And just learn from it. And I think I got to a place of complacency personally, and I didn't realize that. And then now I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Well, you can't ask me what I'm doing in 6 months from now, but I don't even know what sometimes I'm doing tomorrow. But I know what I'm doing today. And that's all I can do.
And so you've been an employee, and then you've also run the ship.
Yeah.
What is harder?
Oh boy. Being an employer. Being an employee, you're still an employee. You're going to still get paid, right? Every 2 weeks or whatever your schedule is, you're going to get paid. And you don't have to worry about the things, the ins and outs of it. And as on the other side of it, I really realize what my parents have gone through, the sacrifices that need to be made. Again, you're going to get knocked down. You got to get back up. And I think, but that makes you stronger. Mm-hmm. And I would rather be on the employer side any day of the week, because it's what makes you tougher. And I'm also a person who doesn't like easy peasy. So if you're going to make my life harder, then that's it. And something that I even talked about with my mom last night, and I said, I don't understand. Like, I just sat there and I said, I just got like these 20 things done in like 30 minutes. And she just looks at me, how did you do that? And I go, I don't know, but I just did it. And then now I'm sitting here and I want to do more. I'm like, I'm feeling like I'm not doing enough. And it's just this process of, I'd rather be on that side of the world than this side. But both sides are hard.
Yeah.
Both sides are hard.
So, what advice would you give to somebody looking to enter the tech industry today?
I would say keep trying to figure out whatever technology that's your passion, right? Whatever part of technology, whether it's on the AI, or if you're looking at storage, if you're looking at security, or if you're just looking at different products, like on the VAR side, make sure you really know it well and how it's going to solve your customers' problems or how it's going to help somebody. I think that's one of the biggest pieces that people forget. Like, oh, this solves this and this solves this, but how does it really help the customer? And I think that's going to be your biggest differentiator when you're out there in the field, because if you're solving those problems and asking those questions, they're going to like you more because they're going to know and they're going to see that genuineness. That's even a word. I don't know if that's a word.
It is now.
It is now. So I like to make up words. That genuine, I don't know the word, genuineness, whatever it is. They're going to feel that. And they're going to feel that you're honest and you're real and you want to know. And they're going to want to work with you because they're going to see that about you. It shows a little bit of compassion and empathy versus just spitting information off and not caring. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I would say.
Any final thoughts?
Wow, about Frontier. As a business, I'm excited. I'm excited to be leading this company on its next journey of the next 10 years. We're starting the team off small, but we got a good, strong team. I'm excited about that. And I don't think it's a team I don't think you need 10 people or you need 2 people or 200 people. I think it's really the energy and the camaraderie that's going to get you to that next level. And I'm pretty confident in that. So I'm excited to see what happens.
So where can listeners learn more about Frontier?
You can go on our website, ftiusa.com, or you can go on LinkedIn, or you can follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook.
That's it for this round of Tipsy Technologists. If you laughed, learned, or spilled your drink, we'll call it a success. Be sure to subscribe, share, and stay tuned for more buzzed brilliance in the next episode. Until next time, stay curious, stay caffeinated, and maybe just a little tipsy.